This is Shopify Masters, the e-commerce marketing podcast for ambitious entrepreneurs. It's powered by Shopify, the easiest way to sell online, in person, and anywhere in between. To get an extended 30-day trial, visit shopify.com/masters. Hey entrepreneurs, my name is Felix and I'm the host of the Shopify Masters podcast. Each week we put out podcast interviews with successful e-commerce entrepreneurs or experts to give you inspiration, motivation, and actionable tips to increase your traffic and sales so your store can generate the sales you need to live the life you want. On the last episode, Hunter Molzen from barbellapparel.com told the story of how he bootstrapped the business that has now sold over 40,000 pairs of pants. In this episode, you'll learn from one of the chillest 7-figure business owners that's built a business where he doesn't even work every day. In this episode, you'll learn why your business becomes less flexible when you increase your product catalog, how getting creative with themed promo codes helps drive sales, and how to attract customers to buy directly from you instead of another marketplace by offering bundled deals. Today, I'm joined by Shazim Mohammed from Glorious PC Gaming Race at PCGamingRace.com. Glorious PC Gaming Race brings top-of-the-line PC gaming modification hardware and accessories and was started in 2014 and based out of Dallas, Texas. Welcome.
Hey, nice to be on.
Yeah, excited to have you on. So, tell us a little bit more about your store and what are some of the most popular products that you sell?
All right, so I'm 26 years old. I graduated last year from college, and I'm one of those guys that realized when I was in school that the corporate life really wasn't for me. And during my last year doing my master's, I kind of jumped into the e-commerce business world, and I came across, basically founded my company, Glorious PC Gaming Race. I'm going to explain what it is because people that aren't gamers don't typically know what it is, and it actually was inspired through something known as the PC Master Race, which I don't know. Felix, are you a PC gamer?
I'm not a PC gamer, but I know of this, I guess, kind of meme or this, like you're saying, it's an inside thing within PC gaming. Yeah, but elaborate for the audience.
Yeah, so the PC Master Race, it kind of, it's really popular on Reddit. There's this community on Reddit where it's really popular, but the origins were from somewhere else. But it's the idea that PC gamers are the elite upper class of gaming. That is the true way to properly be a gamer, whereas console gamers are more like peasants per se. It's like the inferior form of gaming, and it's our task, our duty as PC gamers to guide these peasants or console gamers to, the quote unquote path of enlightenment and find the, true way to game. And like you said, there's lots of memes and puns associated with this theme. Like, for example, our PC setup that we have, we typically refer to them as our battle station or our shrines, and some people call that. And it's cool because there's it's very thematic, and we have like this little hierarchy of types of gamers. Like at the lowest branch, you have the filthy console peasants, which are like the console gamers that refuse to believe PC gaming is anything better. And then one up, we'll have the Apple heathens, which are Apple gaming is not really there's not that many games for Apple products, so it's there. And then one up from that, you have the notebook nobles, which are the guys that think gaming on a laptop. Nowadays, as technology becomes better, it's changing. But it's still one step below the ultimate level, which you want to be at is PC gaming, which is, you have unlimited freedom, full modularity, and it's the true way of gaming. So that is the theme behind all of this. And what I did was I kind of, I've always been a PC gamer, and I was kind of inspired by this. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I kind of branched it off to a different brand known as Glorious PC Gaming Race, trying to keeping it politically correct and trying to differentiate myself from the community just a little bit. So I'm not like jumping on the exact something that was already created.
Makes sense.
And, and as Glorious PC Gaming Race, we create products for PC gamers, such as our most popular items are like extended mouse pads and wrist pads, and these aren't like your normal small mouse pad. These are like 3 foot by 2 foot mouse pads. These are huge, and it appeals to variety of gamers and a lot of graphic designers and stuff like that. There's various uses for a superly large mouse pad. And recently we launched our first tech product, which is a mechanical keyboard, and we're being excited about that.
Very cool. Yeah. So I'm an avid Redditor. So I follow a lot of the, like you're saying, the Battle Station subreddit, and probably, there's tons of other ones that I'm sure, a part of. But just your explanation just now explains so much about that whole ecosystem. I think that's really cool that you've been able to identify such a passionate niche, because there's all of these, like you're saying, all these names that they give themselves and all of these kind of hierarchies, even though it's kind of tongue in cheek in some regards, it's still very passionate that they've been able to build all of these nicknames for each other. So I think that's very cool that you've been able to identify this and build a business off of it. So did you have experience prior to launching a Glorious PC Gaming Race, or was this your very first entrepreneurial pursuit?
For specific e-commerce, yeah, this was my first experience. Throughout college, I ran like several websites and worked on some PC games and stuff like that. So there wasn't any this was basically my real first entrepreneur e-commerce type focus going forward.
Cool. So, you mentioned a bunch of different products. I'm seeing here the mouse mat, like you're saying, the keyboard. So did you start with a bunch of products at once, or did you focus on just one product at launch?
How I found my first product was my extended mouse mat. And I was browsing Reddit, and I think it was actually on the Battle Station subreddit, where I saw some guy was using like a gun mat, which is basically it's used for guns, like how to assemble or clean a gun or something like that. People were using that as a mouse pad. And I was like, yo, this is interesting. People are using a gun mat as a mouse pad. Why not? Why isn't there something specifically focused? Why isn't there like a real big market for it? And there was already an existing market. There was already, it's by no means is it a new and innovative idea. It's an existing idea. But I looked at, the current extended mats that were out there, and I basically looked to see what was wrong with them. I was just like seeing what people are complaining about. And, there's different types of surfaces, there's different weaves, there's different like quality control issues and stuff like that. And I kind of took a chance. I was like, hey, you know what? Let me just try this out, see where it takes me. And settled with the brand name, found a good brand name, which is Glorious PC Gaming Race, and kind of just rolled with it. Mm-hmm. And I started off with one product. When that started being successful, I scaled to like 5 or 6 products. When that became successful, I doubled, and then I kind of grew from there.
That's awesome.
I think in about 2 years, this is the second year. We started in August 2014, so it's been about 2 years. We went from one product to about 25, 26 products.
Wow. So definitely want to talk a little bit more in a bit about the difficulties and challenges about doing that, because a lot of stores do make the mistake, I think, of launching too many things at once. It sounded like you kind of just try to get your feet wet at first, found success, and then started scaling up from there. So definitely want to talk about that in a second. But you mentioned that in order to first find your very first product, you didn't take an innovative idea like you're saying. It already existed. There was already a market for it. There are already people using alternatives like these gun mats that you saw people using for their mouse mats. But you also mentioned that you're able to identify what people were complaining about, and then I guess building your product around solving those complaints. So tell us a little more about this. Like, how did you find out what people were complaining about? How did you use that information to influence, I guess, the direction of your company? So
being a PC gamer myself, it wasn't hard for me to see what people were complaining about. I bought the products that people were using. I was like, ooh, I can improve it this way. Or it was almost to the point where it's just like, what would I want to see, or how would I be using my product? Like, I use all my products I create because I'm a gamer and this is what I would like to see. And there was like, I don't like saying that price was one of the issues, because some, like you can find similar products for like $40 when I first started out. But price was an issue. One of the things that we differently was, a lot of, like, I play a lot of FPS games like Counter-Strike. And, when you're playing Counter-Strike on lower sensitivities for your mouse, you move your mouse, you need more surface area. And that, depending on your mouse, like, it becomes really, really sensitive. Like like everything becomes really, really sensitive. Like how much friction there is, how smooth is it from left to right as compared to up and down? Do you have more control one way as compared to another way? How does the cloth develop over time as you break into it? So there's a lot of factors like that were really important to consider when designing a mouse pad. And, someone that isn't in that market would never even think about it, that, wow, breaking into a mouse pad, I've never, that wouldn't even cross your mind. But those are all important things that you kind of have to consider and play around with. And it was just a matter of, honestly, just experimentation. And, I contacted a bunch of suppliers, and I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's make it this way. They made it. I tried it for a little bit. If I didn't like it, I'd be like, okay, I want to change this, this, and this, and this, and kind of, changed it and refined it to what we liked. And luckily for the market that I'm catering to, it's a bunch of tech dudes like you and me. And we're pretty vocal, we're pretty tech savvy. So getting feedback from these kind of customers is really, really easy. And, if they're gamers, so, if you talk to a gamer like a gamer, they're going to give you the response. So what I think we're lucky with is that we get really, really good feedback and really, really good suggestions from our customers. And, and we take that into account, and we're constantly improving our products based off of, what people are saying to us. So we were able to, being a small company, we're more flexible. So we were able to quickly, release version 1, make the changes we needed, and then come out with version 2 and, version 3 and so forth as, time went on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's something to be said there about looking for a market that will give you that kind of feedback, like the blunt feedback that I think you're referring to, that gamers, anybody that's in the tech industry, they're very vocal, they're very opinionated and ready to offer their opinions, even sometimes when it's not solicited. So I think when you kind of fell into this because you're already a member of that community. But if someone out there is looking for a business to start, I think it is important to find an audience or a particular market that is going to help you develop your product and is going to be willing to give you that feedback. So when you were working with these suppliers to build out the first product, the mouse mat, were you the only beta tester, or did you have other people that you wanted to get these mats out to for them to try it out as well?
I was the only one. I knew what I was looking for. For a mouse pad, it wasn't really necessary. We sent out a bunch of review samples when we kind of got our first batch, per se, to kind of get, interest in taking pre-orders and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's always been my decision on testing and what I felt like was appropriate.
Cool. Yeah, and one of the kind of gifts and the curse with, again, this audience of techies is that they're also kind of, hesitant or at least cautionary when it comes to businesses, right? They're always thinking about, our business trying to not necessarily have a negative outlook on businesses, but at least a little more suspicious, right, of businesses and marketing and all of that. Did you encounter those kind of issues early on? Like people were wondering, like, is this guy actually a part of the community or not, or is he just trying to come in and make a buck?
I was kind of always part of the community when I started. It was like I've always been a Redditor, per se, and I wasn't like a guy trying to advertise my business on Reddit. I was kind of a Redditor that started a business through Reddit. And most people were actually surprisingly very receptive. Like, for example, like when I started off, when I was just thinking of the logo for my company, I posted it on PC Master Race. I was like, hey, what do you guys think? I'm thinking about starting a store themed around the PC Master Race. What are you guys' thoughts? And I mean, from there, people gave me feedback on my logo. People kind of suggested, hey, maybe you should drop the master race part because it's not really politically correct and stuff. So, of course, there were some people that are like, get out, pretty negative. But for the most part, people were fairly receptive. And, I'm surprised. I remember that post. I'm surprised, like to this day, when people on Reddit are talking about my product, they'll always reference that I came in, 2 years ago, to, some Redditor started it up. So it's always been kind of part of the community. I've never really faced any type of resistance per se.
Yeah, I think it helps then that you are a part of the community. You can't just drop in. I'm sure that if you just sign up for an account on Reddit and all of a sudden start talking about your business without having some kind of history with the community, you would have a different, they will receive you differently. But I think that you put in the work early on just by being part of that community, which helped a lot when you wanted to eventually sell to that community. So you mentioned that that this was an innovative idea. There are already other products out in the market for this. Why did you feel like you could compete? Did you ever worry about, I'm going up against not necessarily giants, but you're going up against people that, I guess, in a marketplace that already has competition in there? Yeah,
I mean, it's jumping into a gaming category is pretty risky. I didn't really get into too much of, what if it fails, because if you're too scared to do something, then you don't know until you try. And I really feel like I did the branding really, really well. Like I really captured that audience that likes this type of branding and this theme. And I felt like it's helped me a lot because when I started, for example, on Amazon, right? Amazon's one of the places we sell. At the time, we'd had a few, maybe like 4 or 5 companies selling them, and they're like the big companies, and I was like the new guy on the block that came in. And now on Amazon, there's like hundreds of Chinese sellers that have flooded with similar products for, for a fraction of the cost that we sell it for. Obviously, they're different products and, different things, but for us, we never saw a dip in our sales because, and I strongly feel like it was due to the branding and how we presented the products and having extremely high quality pictures and stuff like that. So I think that helped a lot.
Yeah, I think that brand you're talking about is one of those assets that will just continue to pay off for you in the long run. And that's one of the things you mentioned in the pre-interview about one of the keys to your success is your ability to build this brand. So can you say a little bit more about that? Like, what does it mean to you to build a brand? Did you come out purposefully with in your head, this is the brand I want, and then executed on that? Like, tell us about your thought process when it comes to building a brand.
I think branding is everything. And if you don't have a brand, you don't have a business. I would argue that if you sold 1,000 products and made like pennies on it, but had the prospects of growing it into a bigger brand base in the future, it would be worth it because you're creating your brand. Any negative complaint or criticism you get is an opportunity for you to, handle that customer, make them happy, and they'll be like, amazing customer service, awesome people. It's kind of like the Amazon philosophy, right? Everyone knows on Amazon that, hey, Amazon has the best returns ever because you can literally return anything. So, that's what we do. We just take a return for whatever. We don't question it. And most of the time, the customers really, really, at the end of the day, if you ever have a complaint, the customer is, they're looking for a refund and they're happy about it. And, that customer would go on Reddit or whatever community they're from and, be like, dude, these guys have the best customer service ever or whatnot. So branding, I think, is the key to everything. And it's like we had issues when we first started off because Glorious PC Gaming Race and our logo in itself isn't really standard. It's kind of loud. It's not very minimalistic per se. It's not simple, and people are like, "This isn't gonna work. This is stupid." Like anyone you would show, they'd be like, "This isn't how you run a business. You can't have this." But I was like, "Hey, why not? If everyone in the world is going through a minimalistic logo, let me be different and have something that's loud, a little bit louder, and a little bit, eye catching. And, and as I expected, our customers responded. Most of the customers like, yeah, we bought your product because of your branding, or I love your branding. It made me laugh, or something like that. So, I used it to my advantage. I tried to be a little bit different, tried to be a little bit loud, and, people really liked it. And one of the things we do, and it works out really well for us, is that anytime we have like a sale or something, we use, a relevant promo code, which kind of people like, like for example, back when DJ Khaled was really popular, we'd had a promo code with "You the Best" or something for one of our promo codes, and people like on Reddit were like chewing that up. They're like, "Oh my god, this is hilarious!" And we would get views just because of the promo code, and that having that type of presence of being different and loud, people really respond to it. So yeah, branding I think is everything.
So did you purposefully, and did you take a calculated approach to building your brand, or is it just something that kind of organically developed over time?
What do you mean by calculated?
Yeah, just like, let's say someone is just started their business and they listen to this podcast and hear about the importance of brand building, which is something that, a lot of entrepreneurs talk about as well. So it's definitely, I've heard time and time again, a very key aspect of building a sustainable and defensible business. But then when they sit down and say, okay, I want to build a brand, like, where do I begin? Like, how do I even, it's such a large undertaking. What do you do? Let me ask a different way then. What do you do on a daily basis to ensure that you are building a brand?
So I didn't have like a grand plan when I started. There wasn't like a definite approach, but I did the stuff that I know I needed to do. Like, for example, obviously anyone going to e-commerce would be a fool not to get on Amazon. But that being said, building your business on Amazon, you're setting yourself up for failure. You can't build a business in someone else's playground. And, when I started off, I always had my site, my Shopify site, and my Amazon store, like always. I kept both of them updated at all times. Like you just can't. And that helped, I think, a lot. And, you have, Instagram and Facebook, and you're building your email list. Like on our Instagram page, we post pictures of people's gaming setups, but only of people that are using our products. And we started off slowly. We found pictures. People on Reddit post set up like unbalanced stations. A lot of people use our products, and we just take it and then credit them and then upload it to Instagram. And we usually try to do a picture a day. And we grew kind of from, 0 followers to 35K about followers. And, people found us through that. And they're like, you start seeing it pay off. And, when you kind of integrate it within the community and take part of discussions and stuff like that, a lot of people are always recommending our brands because they've heard about it through Reddit and stuff like that. So a lot of word of mouth is being used to kind of build a brand. So, I mean, there's not a magic bullet or formula. It really depends on your type of audience. Like for me, I have a really, really techie audience. So it wasn't too bad to cater to that crowd because I was kind of like them and I kind of was in the places they were at.
So it sounds like when you're building a brand, is it just an extension of who you already are, or do you have to not necessarily do things that don't represent you? But for example, when you came to this crossroads with your logo, and you said minimalist designs, logos were in, but you decided to go for something louder. Was that decision just based on doing something different than what other people were doing, or was it an extension of, I guess, yourself?
It was an extension to myself. I was just like, hey, if I saw this, would I buy it? Or hey, if I put this in, a group, would this stick out? I was like, yeah, why not? It's a little bit different. It's, I wouldn't have an issue, just because, some professional running some, company thinks that it has to be minimalistic for whatever reason. I mean, it was just, I never saw it as a issue.
Makes sense. Cool. So, you mentioned that you also sell on Amazon. Was this something that you launched at the same time as your store, or did you do one before the other?
Same time. I always had the Shopify site and Amazon at the same time.
Okay, cool. So for anyone else out there that is thinking about, that has their store, for example, and they're thinking about opening up another sales channel and by going Amazon or some other marketplace, what's your experience been on there? Like how is selling on Amazon different than selling through your own store?
Amazon is like a necessary evil. It's one of those things that right now, you just have to be on there. I mean, it'll be guaranteed to increase your sales, but you're never really going to build your customer base and audience. That being said, I mean, like our Amazon, like our products, like we have about like 2,000 reviews that aren't fake, by the way, and stuff. So we're actually like really, we're doing really well on Amazon. It's FBA is so hard to compete with. Like it's just so difficult to compete with FBA. We like our products are stored in the fulfillment center in Salt Lake City, but FBA's reach is so powerful, and so many people use Amazon just to search for products that it can't be ignored. That being said, we have had our share of headaches on Amazon. Like you send an inventory, it takes forever. Your product listing changed, something hijacks. You go out of stock, you lose money. You can't take pre-orders. So there's been its slew of headaches that come with Amazon that Shopify does not have. But, we still have both stores open. We have a lot of international customers that buy through our site, our Shopify site. We are able to do more such as combo deals and, flexible pricing and flexible promo code and stuff like that through our site directly.
So one thing I've heard from other stores that have done this combination of Shopify plus Amazon is that their customers that buy on Amazon are die-hard, like hardcore Amazon shoppers, and they'll always buy on Amazon. And even if they, bought 10 products from this company, they'll never come over and buy directly from the store. Do you have this experience as well? Do you find people that buy on Amazon then eventually, I guess, check out your store and buy directly from your store? Or do they tend to stick with one channel versus the other?
Being a techie audience, they usually look to see where it's cheaper. Everyone does, window shopping, especially gamers. They're going to look to see gamers usually buy stuff online, and they'll look to compare shop around and see where they can find the cheapest price. And, they see the store taking PayPal and it's cheaper, then they usually would, go for whatever option is cheaper. We don't really have any kind of allegiance per se to Amazon as compared to Shopify, our Shopify store. Of course, there are some people that would really be willing to support a small business and buy directly from us, which is always appreciated. But we don't really have anything like that. But we have noticed when we do go out of stock on something on Amazon, we do see an increase in our own site, like our sales on our own site for that particular SKU. But for the most part, it's not any brand allegiance or anything like that.
Okay, makes sense. And this issue, I guess not necessarily issue, but this trait of your customers where they are, I guess, super price sensitive, where they will hunt for the cheaper price, even if it's just a couple of dollars. How do you, I guess, manage that? Like, do you constantly try to adjust prices to make sure that things are always matched up? Like, how do you manage, I guess, running a business on two different sales channels where the customers are going to be looking around for a cheaper price?
We priced our products the same on Amazon and our own site. Like, so for example, one of our mouse pads is $23.99 on Amazon with pre-prime shipping, and one of our products is $23.99. The same product is $23.99 on our own site plus shipping, which is about $5. So, I mean, if you don't have Prime, it doesn't really make a difference for you. I think it's actually cheaper on our site by a few cents. But if you're searching on Amazon, we're not even catering to you for our site. There's people that don't use Amazon that use Google exclusively to find our products and stuff like that. So, we just cater to people that find us through Google. We don't really try to take customers from Amazon that are using Amazon to find us per se.
Yeah, I was going to ask, if people are searching for your products through Google, do you Are you competing, I guess, in search rankings between your Amazon listing and your product page on your site?
Yeah, we do. I think our Amazon page is listed higher, but it depends on what you're searching for. Usually, people come across us. One thing we do is we try to offer like a bundle deal. Usually, like, hey, buy this, and this item, and you get like a bundle deal and stuff like that. So there are things we use to try to sway people to buy from us directly as compared to Amazon, but we don't really make much of an effort to take Amazon customers and have them come to us.
Makes sense. And you mentioned earlier that it's so hard to compete with FBA or fulfillment by Amazon. Can you say a little bit more about that? Like, what do you mean by competing, and why is it difficult?
Mainly for shipping logistics wise. So when you send inventory to Amazon, Amazon usually distributes it towards their warehouses along the U.S. And because of that, they're able to keep their prices lower. Whereas if someone is using, people always say, "Ooh, but FBA fees are so high, so high." Well, it's like, yeah, but the shipping cost, you're not including the shipping cost. But like for us, like our warehouse is in Utah, the West Coast. It's basically West Coast. So anything going from like Utah to someone in New York, it's really, really expensive to send it out because we send out our stuff through DHL. So it's like, 10 or $11. Whereas if we're sending it on Amazon, it's $5 or something like that. So that difference does make a huge disparity, because sometimes, most of I would say most of our items on our site actually go for more, like they cost more to ship out than it does on Amazon, which is, it's not really a problem people consider till they scale large enough. So like one way to counter that would be to have two warehouses, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, and kind of, filter out which way to do it. But, splitting your inventory like that is very difficult to manage.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I want to talk a little bit about scaling up the product line. So you started out with the extended mouse mat. What was the next product that you added, and how did you know what product to roll out next?
So we wanted to synergize all of our products, and luckily, like a lot of people always gave us recommendations. It's like, hey, can you come out with this? Hey, can you come out with this? And a lot of people asked us to come out with some kind of a wrist pad or a wrist rest for like a keyboard and mouse. So we're like, hey, yeah, sure, we'll come out with something like that. And then, we kind of looked at the competitors. We looked at the current ones available on the market, and they were so ugly. I mean, who wants like a long, banana shaped wrist pad on the computer? It looks disgusting. It looks ugly. We're like, hey, let's make something cooler. Let's make something nicer. Let's make something different. So we came out with one of our wrist pads specifically for people that use a mechanical keyboard. And I used to have carpal tunnel, so I kind of knew what I was. I mean, any gamer guy that's sitting on the computer all day would eventually develop carpal tunnel at some point. So, we looked into proper ergonomics, this and that, see what would make a good wrist pad. And, we came out with a product. People really, really liked it. And it's one of our strongest selling products currently available. And it's nice because, the same branding as our mouse pad, and it looks really good. Everything looks really good together.
Yeah, I guess that's the best way to get ideas on what to launch next, just based on what your customers are practically demanding from you. So once you decided, based on the feedback, based on customers emailing you, reaching out to you, that the wrist pads were the next thing to go for, how did you roll it out? Like, how did you introduce this new product to your audience, to your customers, when they've only known you, I guess, at that time for mouse mats?
Yeah, just posted on Reddit, man. I was just like, hey, we came out with a new wrist pad, and I think we did a giveaway. We were like, hey, we came out with a new wrist pad, and we're giving away X units for free. If you're interested, comment. And here it is for sale if you want to just buy one. And here's a promo code that gives you like 50% off. So at that point, the point wasn't to make money. It was more mainly to, get traction going. And that's what we did. And we just, people started looking at it, and I asked people to start reviewing it, and contacted Redditors, said like, hey, I'll send you a free sample if you post a review about our wrist pad. And, people started doing that, and, word kind of spread from there. And it's really just word of mouth. Most of our stuff that we did has been successful through word of mouth and kind of integrating into the community, and, people post their experiences and feedbacks and stuff like that.
So one of the other products that you now have in your line of products is the mechanical keyboard, and this seems like a big step up in I guess manufacturing, in technology above what you're doing before. Was it just as easy to just roll this out? Like, what was the process behind that product?
Yeah, so it's one of those things where you kind of have to build up to. I would never recommend anyone starting off to ever do an electronic product because of all the certificates and hoops you have to jump through, unless you have a lot of capital to work with. And this keyboard is innovative. It's our first patent pending product. And it was kind of, this was a different subcommunity. This is our mechanical keyboards community. And I was always been a part of it. And it's a very passionate community about keyboards. And, one of the things I noticed was I was like, hey, every keyboard is locked. There's different types of switches available for mechanical keyboards and different flavors that alter your typing experience, and all of them are hardwired. So if you wanted to try a different typing experience with a different type of keyboard, you'd have to buy a completely new keyboard. And what we did was make it just modular, where you can just buy a switch and just easily swap them out by yourself without having to buy another keyboard. And, we had to jump through a bunch of samples and testing over and over again, and quality control issues, and then licensing like FCC certification and all that good stuff. And, a lot of legalities and stuff to go through to kind of make this happen. But we did, and it came out, and we're working on promoting it right now. And it's a little bit harder to sell than a mouse pad or a wrist pad, which is like $20 product. This is like $100 product range. But we contacted a bunch of YouTube reviewers and stuff like that. So we have gotten the word out there about it. And already people are asking us for, hey, can you do this? Can we have this type of product now? And stuff like that, like alterations to this product, which we eventually will roll out with in the future. But people like it, and it's a little bit slower to sell, but with our current existing line and synergy with our products, we were able to offer like a combo deal, which people really react to really well. And it's definitely a step up, but once you kind of get through it, it's not that bad.
Why do you think it is harder to sell a product like this? Do you find that it is because it is a more complicated product? Like, what is it about a product like this that's harder to sell than what you're selling before?
I would argue partially that mechanical keyboards is a more saturated market than mousepads. Surprisingly, there are more options available, and there's just a lot of different features. You're comparing a lot of different features with a lot of different features. You have keyboard A that has features A through Z, and you have keyboard B that has features 1 through 26. And, it's more research and slower on that part for, a customer to kind of, mix and match. There's a lot of options the user has to consider, and it's harder to capture, what someone is specifically looking for.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point about the more features there are, the harder it can be to sell, just because you have to hit on so many different things, because people just have so many preferences once they have all these options available and all these features that they can look at, that then, they're comparing yours against so many other possibilities. I think that's a really good point. When the gaming mat and the wrist pad, those are solving like one kind of almost key problem that someone has, and I think it makes it a lot easier to sell than a keyboard, which could be solving for different markets. So I think that's a really good point. So when you did start adding these more products, maybe not even the mechanical keyboard at that time, but all these different, I guess products that you're building up to the keyboard, did you run into any problems that you maybe didn't expect before you started expanding the product line?
No, not particularly. I would say the hardest thing about having a large product line is managing stock and inventory levels. That becomes increasingly more complicated. But apart from that, no. I would also say that the bigger your product line, the less flexible you are. Like, for example, if I decided, hey, I want, like, at some point we decided, hey, we needed to change our logo or make a refinement to our logo. Well, that meant, okay, we have to go through like 20 different products, 20 different packaging. It's a lot of work to make a small change to something so critical that spans all your product lines. So it makes you less flexible, and inventory management becomes even a bigger concern if you're not organized.
Yeah, and what about like when it comes to the marketing and advertising? I know that you said that word of mouth seems to be the key for you guys, but when you're on Instagram or on just putting out your stuff out there, maybe organically, does it become harder when you have so many different products that you could be promoting?
We don't actually ever specifically promote one product. Not until this keyboard came into existence that we didn't heavily start promoting the keyboard. Never had to actually go out of my way to shove a product down like my Instagram followers' throats or anything like that. Don't really post any kind of sales on there. We just kind of there per se. We could. I haven't experimented with that. We have started playing around with Google ads and Facebook ads and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's kind of the idea that if you have a good product, people will come to you. And present it in a proper way, and get some traction, a little bit of traction going, and it helps a lot. So no, we never really specifically pushed the product with heavy advertising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you're not promoting or pushing these products, what are you putting out there? Like, what kind of content are you putting out there that gets people to eventually check out the site, the store, and then hopefully eventually buy?
One of the largest places that people find us is on our battle stations. People that buy our product would, people post a picture of their setup and they'll see a mouse pad or a wrist pad, be like, ooh, where'd you get that? Ooh, where'd you get that? I mean, it's not very common to see a 2-foot by 3-foot mouse pad. And someone immediately is going to look at that and be like, hey, what's this? And then, usually the Redditor will be like, oh, I got it from Reddit. Here's a link to buy it. And, several hundred people will read that and come to us. They'll buy it. They'll post it on our battle stations or whatever. And it kind of works like that. So in a way, it's made my life easier because I don't have to specifically go out of my way to do any kind of marketing to kind of get, try to pull in more people. That being said, if I did, it probably would help even more. But I'm fine the way the business is going right now, where I feel like I don't need to be doing that. I can focus on expanding my product line and making, kind of like having like a complete set of products that I would like to have.
Yeah, I think that's another kind of key, I guess, thing to consider when you are starting a business or thinking about what kind of business, what kind of market to get into, is that you are, selling a product to people that are excited to share that product. You're essentially selling to passionate like gearheads. It could be. It doesn't have to be, gaming accessories. It could be photography, like anything that people are super excited to talk about the products themselves, and they're not just buying it and using it without being excited to talk about it or share it. I think because you're able to sell a product that makes people excited to share, it makes it a lot easier for you to market for free, by word of mouth.
It does, yeah, it does.
Cool. So can you give us an idea of how successful the business is today? 2 years in, give us an idea of, the growth or success of the business.
So we started off with one product and it became largely successful. We introduced, a couple more products. All of those became successful. And now we have about 25 products and all of those became successful. And for 2016, we've broken the 7-figure line. And we're going into Q4 really, really strong. And so far, so good. It keeps going.
Oh, very cool. So, speaking of Q4, obviously a very big season that a lot of listeners out there that have stores are preparing for. Anything that you are doing in preparation for this holiday shopping season?
Yeah. Last year we had the misfortune of going out of stock
Mm.
around early November, so it was really hard to gauge because you didn't really have the data. First year, you don't really have the data to understand what your Q4 is. And then your second time, you kind of are scared. You're like, okay, this can go out of stock again. So, you order a lot of inventory. So, I mean, at this point, if you haven't ordered by now, it's too late, most likely for Q4. Or it's just getting just about there. But what we did was we ordered just a crap ton of inventory in August, and it'll be here by October, and we're just gonna send it off where it needs to go, and then be prepared for the various promotions that Amazon does and the various promotions that we're gonna have on our site on like Cyber Monday and stuff like that, which are our biggest days.
Very cool. So, what kind of tools and apps do you use to help run the business, whether it be the store? Because I see a couple of things on the site now, like a help chat. I see this thing on the side too where it says it gets notifications when someone purchases a product on the site. Can you share what apps you use to help run or I guess help automate pieces of the store?
Yeah. So the two big apps, or the one really big app I guess we use is Stitch Labs. Stitch Labs we use to kind of manage our inventory, and that's pretty popular. It is pricey, but I think once you get to the level where losing inventory hurts you a lot, I think it's really beneficial. We use that. We use Google Shopping to kind of sync all of our feeds to our Google Store, which helps a lot. That thing that was popping up, it shows when the sales made was recently too. We're just playing around with that. That's a new item. We use Bench to do all of our accounting, which is really cool. It's like an outsourced CP. It's like an outsourced bookkeeper essentially, and it's nice because they pull all the information from Shopify and Amazon and our credit cards and PayPal, any tech purchase that you make, any like electronic purchase that you do. They kind of consolidate all of that and do your books for you essentially, which is really important for tax time.
And Bench, I've heard good things about them. Did you have a bookkeeper from the get go, or like is that something that you think entrepreneurs should consider at the very beginning?
Yeah, I used to do it on an Excel sheet, and I quickly realized that that's a nightmare to do. Just because, like for example, on Shopify, if you make a purchase on PayPal, then you have to take into account the Shopify cut if there's any, or the PayPal cut that it's taken part of, and the various fees, or someone returns something, and it's a lot of manual work. It's super organized to be, on top of your taxes because people don't realize how much they cost. Like at the end of the year, like my first year, I was doing my bookkeeping and I was just like, oh my God, when tax time came, I was talking to my CPA. I was like, this can't be right. So I immediately was like, all right, this is something you cannot skimp out on. And Bench helped a lot because I needed something that was, most bookkeepers, if you go to a CPA, they're like, yeah, send me this and send me this extra, send me this data, send me this data, send me this data. I was like, yo, man, this is like 2015. I don't have time to be sending you random documents. Is there some automated solution? And that's when I kind of came across Bench. They automatically pull everything through their API feeds and stuff, through the major e-commerce stuff, Amazon, Shopify, anything that you want to basically, you would be selling with. And it's been really, really, really organized and helpful to kind of have that there.
Cool. So you have the outsourced fulfillment, you have the outsourced bookkeeping. Do you have an in-house team? Like, is anyone else working on this besides you?
I just have one VA, and the VA he's awesome. I use him to really answer customer emails and support and stuff like that. He pretty much does that exclusively. He does some of the Instagram posting. the post scheduling for like, finding people who are using our setups and stuff and getting them posted. Yeah, he does. That's a good chunk of work he does.
Wow. So you have a 7-figure business with pretty much just one virtual assistant on your team. That's amazing. So how do you spend your days? Like, what are you focused on once you wake up in the morning and are ready to start working on the business?
Some days I work, some days I don't. It's literally a 4-hour work week per se, because, when I started the business, I was like, this needs to be as turnkey as possible, because if I'm not able to take off and I want to take off, then what's the point of me doing a business? Wow. And, I was really, that, because when I started working, I interned one summer at some IT company, and I quickly realized, I was like, yo, man, this is not the life for me. I literally feel like a slave trapped, and this sucks if it's the rest of my life. So when I started my business, I was like, all right, this can't feel like a job for me. And it's kind of one of those things that you're always thinking about, when you have a business, you're always thinking about it, always figuring out, always, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. But typically when I wake up, check my email, I'll browse Reddit, I'll see if there's any critical tasks that need to be done, like day-to-day tasks and stuff like that. And then usually by the evening, I pretty much do whatever for the rest of the day. And then usually by the evening, that's usually when the suppliers are awake. And that's when we're like either discussing a new product to be made, or, talking to the suppliers to figure out any issues and make any improvements, or do some kind of order management, stuff like that. So it's fairly relaxed per se.
Yeah, I'm sure you made a lot of people jealous by saying, explaining your lifestyle there. I think one issue that people run into is that they say that they want this 4-hour work week as well, but they always have, they start making, I guess, progress towards it, and, offload things and delegate things. But once they do that, they just kind of fill up their time with other stuff too at the same time. Do you ever feel this kind of urge, or maybe even bordering on guilt, to be doing something when you're not, I guess, doing something for your business?
Sometimes I was like, hey man, am I like, what about, because it's kind of weird, because, when you're working, you're getting a paycheck every, every 2 weeks or whatnot. And you're like, okay, cool, I'm doing something useful. But when you're kind of doing a business, there's times where you're just like chilling, and you're like, am I okay? Am I making a correct decision? Because, the business doesn't really grow until you actually put effort into it. And, then you look at the sales you had for today, and you're like, all right, I'm doing good. And then you just chill, and then you just go back and chill. But I'm organized, and I'm motivated, and I kind of know what I need to do when I need to be doing it. There's periods of time where it's just like, all right, new product is being developed, or new product is coming out. It's time to work. And other times it's kind of like, everything's good. Just chill. It's in maintenance mode, just keep an eye on stuff, make sure everything's okay and stuff like that.
Yeah, you might be the chillest 7-figure business owner I've ever had on this podcast. So I think it's funny that you've been able to do all of this and still kind of maintain that lifestyle that you I guess originally wanted from the get-go. I think that's important to kind of stick to the reason why you got started in the first place. So thanks so much for your time, Shazim. So PCGamingRace.com again is the website. Anywhere else you recommend our listeners check out? They want to follow along with what you're up to?
No, man, just PC Gaming Race. I'm off social media.
Cool. Awesome. All right, again, thanks so much for your time.
All right, thank you, Felix.
Thanks for listening to Shopify Masters, the e-commerce marketing podcast for ambitious entrepreneurs. To start your store today, visit shopify.com/masters to claim your extended 30-day free trial.